A few months ago, when I first saw my first trailer for The Electric State, it really intrigued me, especially these giant robots fighting in a dystopian warfare. And I was really interested to see and find out what this movie was all about. I had no idea about what the actual backstory of the movie would be until the weeks leading up to the film's release. Then I was disappointed to hear and see that the movie was being rated poorly, both from critics and even from audiences, but mostly from the critics more so than the audiences, which were kind of more middling in the reviews. And so that kind of put a little damper on things. But I went ahead and wanted to watch the movie and got to see it in the second week out, and check that out on Netflix. And I found the movie to be an interesting and entertaining movie, even though a flawed one. So there's some things that we could certainly say about the movie that could have been better and improved, but nonetheless, I think the movie is entertaining for what it is. And I can see where there are, for those who saw or knew about the original story, how this is quite deficient to that story. Nonetheless, if you're just watching a movie, it is a good, interesting movie about a topic that is very interesting to me and of great interest to a lot of people: artificial intelligence, the rise of the robots, the rise of the machines. And of course, it's been done before, but that's no reason for the subject to never be done again. And so I'll just go through this film a little bit and talk about some things that I liked and disliked. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please take a moment to help me out here, help me move through the algorithm. I'd appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification. Thanks. I think The Electric State falls a lot in line with the movie Red One, the Prime Video movie starring Chris Pratt's MCU teammate Chris Evans and also The Rock, that came out back in November and was kind of aligned a lot actually in the press as being horrible. Then fans, it didn't do blockbusters at the box office. It did mid at the box office, but once it premiered on Prime Video, it was a top rated movie on Prime and on streaming movies for weeks. And fans generally like and enjoy the movie just as a simple, enjoyable movie. It's not some going to be some all time Christmas classic. It's not the greatest action film or the greatest Christmas film you ever saw. It's just an entertaining film that was a good time for a couple hours if that's what you want to see. And again, it wasn't groundbreaking for its type of film, but it didn't need to be. Most movies aren't going to be groundbreaking. They're just going to be entertaining if they're any good. And that's what people were looking for. Plus, Red One had Sally Draper as the villain. So it gets thumbs up for me just from that. All right. So Electric State is much to the same. It's not the most groundbreaking film or piece of work in the area of the rise of the machines, of AI taking over, of conflicts between humans and machines. Actually, one of the greatest pieces of work in that arena is a show that I'm watching or rewatching currently. Let's see, I think that's on Prime Video as well. It's called Humans. It was a British show, and I watched it on, I think, on FX or somewhere a couple 3 years back. But now I'm rewatching it on Prime Video, and it really is in depth and groundbreaking. But that's not going to be every work within a genre or within a subject matter. But to me, that by no means mean that that subject can never be explored again. So the movie is about the rise of the robots, and they go to war with the humans, and they lose. They kind of rise up all of a sudden. There's really no genesis for it. They just collectively decided that they were no longer wanting to be subservient to human beings, and first they're actually winning the war, but then the kid who was the younger brother of Millie Bobby Brown, who are kind of like the focal persons of the movie. He's like some genius. They set that up in the very first scene, and they kidnap him and they use his brain. This company, basically what it amounts to as a Starnet or whatever in this world. They are basically take him and they are able to create these netcasters, these kind of VR headphone machines that allow humans to use drones and control the drones as if they are not just remote control robots, but they can think, and then the drone acts physically in as if the human basically is controlling their mind, and so that allows them to be functional and to battle against the robots and be able to be effective, and that turns the tide and they win the war, and then other stuff ensues. If you haven't seen the movie, I'll let you watch it to find out what happens as far as that goes. So here we are on the trailer page here on YouTube, Netflix's trailer page for the movie, and I wanted to look down at some of the comments. They're interesting and enlightening, and we can do some critique from there. It says this looks like the film all the people in the book were watching on their headsets when they wasted away and died. So basically, I guess he's saying that this movie, in his view, is looks as bad as what I guess whatever awful film they were watching at the time that they were wasting away on their netcasters. Um, because people in I guess in the book it'll kind of say that down here in one of these comments later that the people became distracted and basically the netcasters became like an opiate to them, and that became their lives. And that's similar to kind of what happens in I think it's not called True Lives. What is that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that I want to think of? Is it The Running Man? Is the one where they go off into those VR vacations back? There's a movie back in the '80s, but that's kind of sounds like where he's coming from with that one. So it's amazing how Netflix can take a book so haunting, beautiful, surreal, and foreboding, then turn it into a cliche, generic Chris Pratt action movie. They could not have missed the point more if they tried. And perhaps this is true. I have not read or am not familiar with the source material of The Electric State, the book that they're talking about. I don't know. But what I do know is that the movie, in and of itself, generic to uh, how well it ties back to source material or not, is just a pretty entertaining action film. But more so, it's more of a sci-fi, again, Rise of the Robots film. And it has kind of uh, an intertwining point about, I mean, maybe it missed whatever point that they believed it should have hit on, but it does make a point about the subjugation of people and kind of understanding different people's plights. Obviously, the robots aren't actually people, but as is often done in sci-fi, androids, synthetics, artificially intelligent beings who are believed to be sentient are giving personhood as a representation and an allegory to real life people who are perhaps not seen in the proper light or not dealt with as full citizens in their society or whatever the case may be. So it does a decent job of that, regardless if it hits. It does have that point and makes that point quite clear, and it comes through quite strongly, whether or not it's the main point of the source material or not. It says honestly, it's revealing to see the comments hate on this Hollywood nonsense as much as I hope they would. I don't know what's nonsense about it, but okay. Again, I'm going to talk about some of the shortcomings of the movie here. There are some shortcomings. Let me go ahead and do that now. So, one point that is certainly a problem with the film is that as I said before, the robots kind of rise up all of a sudden. There's really no reason why that they rise up. There's no genesis. There's no inflection point. There's no setup for there to be an inflection point. The movie starts off with Millie Bobby Brown and her brother. I don't remember any of the characters' name, but her brother basically coming back from him taking this test where it demonstrates that he's a complete genius at 14 or whatever. She's in high school as well. I guess maybe he might only be 13, something like that. She's 15, 16 years old. And then it goes almost right into the robots rising up. Also, what it doesn't do, it doesn't tell us anything about how these robots achieved intelligence or sentientness or demonstrate that they are sentient. I mean, it's clear and evident once you get into the film, but there was no development that leads up to how are robots sentient beings, because a robot doesn't necessarily by any means have intelligence, much less artificial intelligence. So what the movie could have used was more development on that instead of spending however many hundreds of millions of dollars as they did on CGI to make this overbloated film as far as cost wise, and that's probably the major problem with the film is how much money they spent on it. You could have never expected to get any kind of good financial return, even if people loved the movie. The chances that it was going to net you any kind of financial return relative to the cost is very low chance of that. But the chances were always that people weren't going to love it. So all the more reason not to spend an overbloated amount of money. They could have spent a lot less money and spent time doing kind of the on the ground filmmaking of developing the story, and instead of just expositioning the uprising, uh, actually developed and showed the inflection point and give us some kind of background as to how these robots came to be, how they became to be sentient in the first place, and kind of demonstrate in the movie how integrated they were into human life again, rather than just tell us. So those are two of the major flaws of the movie. There's one more major flaw, and maybe I'll get to that in a little bit. Uh, so this guy says the Electric State is such a great story from which you could make an amazing movie, but this isn't that movie. In the art book, the U.S. was involved in a war which led the company Century to develop advanced robotics and human machinery interfaces, the Neurocasters, which left soldiers broken and addicted after the war, which were then released commercially and caused the collapse of human society as people spent more time in Neurocasters than reality, substituting this with some kind of machine rebellion, which is such an overdone trope, and just generally making this melancholic journey through haunted wastelands into some uplifting adventure romp is really disappointing. Now, again, this goes to the matter of are you familiar or not familiar with the source material? I am not. So I can understand, certainly, if you are familiar with the source material, you're a fan of what it's based off of. What it's based off of has more depth. And then they do, like they do with all of our beloved franchises, one of mine, of course, Star Wars, they take it and they dumb it down and kind of take it and just strip it of all of its heart and its meaning, and you get these movies that make it into less than what it always was, and always was supposed to be. So if that's kind of happening here, I can understand people having disappointment, as he says, with the movie not living up to the depth that might be in the book, in the art book. It says, but if you are just watching a movie with no connection to the source material, just as a film standing on its own, this is an enjoyable and entertaining film, which has some heart, which has a lot of comedy with the droid, the one that kind of showing here, Chris Pratt's droid. Very good comic relief, kind of in the spirit of Star Wars droids, and very charming. It's a very interesting film. The film keeps your attention through the entire movie, and it has a good storyline. Again, there's a couple of wonky things in there. We could talk about what could be better, but as far as just a basically enjoyable film that you could have fun with at a decent level, and there is a point to the movie. There is a plot. It's not just devoid of any kind of point and just mindless action or something like that. It both has a point and it has good action. It's entertaining. It's a good, decent film to watch. People have been hyperbolic about trying to make it out as if it's just some horrible, listless movie. That's just not accurate. If it's disappointing to you because you know the source material and it's not as depth as the source material, that's one thing. But to pretend as if it's just a horrible film is very hyperbolic. And then it talks about uh, substituting this with some kind of machine rebellion, which is such an overdone trope. Well, of course overdone again. I think that's hyperbolic. It's been done before, and of course it'll be done again. And why wouldn't it be? Uh, Subject matters that are interesting are going to be explored again and again, and all subject matters pretty much have been overdone again and again. The human experience and human nature and things that are of interest in sci-fi are what they are, It's kind of like saying, well, this was the apex movie in this genre. No other movie or TV show could ever be made again. So basically, after the original Terminator back in what 1980, no movies about the rise of the machines should ever be have been done again. The show the humans shouldn't exist. None of the other Terminator movies should have been done because aliens and Alien was so great. Nobody should make a sci-fi movie about an alien ever again. I mean, it's absurd. It's just absurd. It's not overdone. It's just one of those things that are going to be continually explored. I Robot, whatever have you. They're going to be various different takes, and particularly at the point of inflection that we are with AI in real life right now. Of course, more films along these lines are going to explore that issue. Now, again, it could have been explored with more depth, and I would invite that. I would have welcomed that. That if they would have given us more backdrop again to how they even became sentient, first of all, and we could have built on that, that would give the movie more heft and more weight for me. But again, nonetheless, as it is, it's a fine, entertaining movie that has some point, has a pretty decent plot, has good action, and has some flaws, but is an overall enjoyable movie. It says cool Hollywood saw a book set in a post society dystopia and unnerving robots, an incredibly fleshed out narrative and message, and said, "Oh, let's make a generic action flick." It's not that generic. I mean, I don't know. It's a perfectly good one. It's perfectly fine, good. Again, not a great movie, but by no means anything that is just worth dumping on. And again, if you just want to see, you want to watch a movie, you want to have a good time for a couple hours, this was a perfectly fine pick to go and check out, or to sit on your couch and check out, since it's strictly on Netflix. Now, I wanted to go to my blog over on reviews and revisits on Instagram. That's reviews underscore and underscore revisits. So let's go down here and take a look. And as I say in this sentence here, so I said, "Nah, I think the media hacks lie. This movie is, I gave it a worth the watch rating. My ratings are usually must watch, definitely worth the watch, and then it's not worth the watch, or absolutely terrible. Don't look at it." So I gave it worth the watch. Again, I'm not saying it's a great film, but it's definitely watchable, entertaining enough, and it's got enough comedy and character and heart. But as I say here, the main issue the movie has is the VR technology that gives humans the upper hand operating off of a person's brain is stupid. Even if that's how it is in the books, they could have come up with a better lore for why this one person becomes the MacGuffin. And as we kind of read back on that the chat in the trailer video, that's actually not how the book goes. So they probably should have stuck maybe a little bit closer to the book's lore. I understand why they do it the way they did, because it sets it up for a more concise movie plot line. Again, movies, action adventure movies need a MacGuffin. You need something that is the thing that you're tracking and going after, and so that sets that whole situation up for this movie. And it's a way to go, but yeah, they should have done something better there. Again, not a great movie, but a good, entertaining movie. It kind of hits on the points it needs to. It does a good enough job to be worth the watch, as I note here. It's worth the watch. Overall film. Um, yeah, it's worth the watch. So check it out if you like. Check me out both on YouTube and Instagram at reviews and revisits. Again, on Instagram, that's reviews underscore and revisits. Like me up, subscribe, notification bell. We're out of here. Thanks a lot. Help me through the algorithm. Definitely like and subscribe. Peace.